Yo, what's poppin' peeps? T-Money here for Body Bags. Here to do a review for... I can't even remember what week it is, honestly. Sorry, guys. It'll be in the description, the title of my video, but the film I chose, it's free-for-all week, was Graveyard Shift. And I also do have the Spanish. It's not released in the US yet, but you can get a Region B Blu-ray of the film, which was from... I don't know what company. It doesn't even say on here, so I can't tell you. But you can get it on Diabolic, I believe. But anyway, the film is from 1990. It is a Stephen King adaptation directed by Ralph Singleton, who actually did not do any other films. He was mainly a production manager for films like Last Man Standing, a bunch of films that he was a pretty big production manager from what I gathered, but he directed 2 episodes of Cagney and Lacey in the mid-80s, and then he went on to do Graveyard Shift in 1990. And as far as I know, those were his only 2 directing credits, but I'll go ahead and read the synopsis for this film. From Stephen King comes his most terror-filled tale yet, Gates Falls, Maine. When an abandoned textile mill is reopened, several employees meet mysterious deaths. The link between the killings all occurred between the hours of 11 p.m. and 7 a.m., the graveyard shift. The sadistic mill foreman, played by Stephen Mock, has chosen a group to clean up the mill's rat-infested basement, but what the workers find is a subterranean maze of tunnels leading to the cemetery, and an unimaginable horror that comes alive in the dead of night. So this is just a classic. I love this film. It's cheesy goodness from Stephen King, 90s Stephen King adaptation, like Thinner, like Pet Sematary. Pet Sematary is a better film for sure, but this film just captures, to me, it just captures that Stephen King 90s film adaptation. It's the epitome of a Stephen King film, and I like that. I love those films. I love Thinner. I love Pet Sematary. I love all of them. I'm drawing a blank, but I love them all. I do. But this film is just the best thing that this film has going for it is the cast, for sure. You've got Brad Dourif, who plays Tucker, who is a crazy Vietnam, post-Vietnam vet, I think, or just a crazed Vietnam vet rat exterminator. You've got David Andrews, who plays John Hall, your typical, like, Terminator 1 role. I forget what's the guy's name, Michael Biehn type character. You've got Kelly Wolf, who plays Jane, an employee. They're basically all you've got a group of employees at a mill who are going to clean this basement for their foreman, who's Warwick, and they're all like discontent and mistreated, poorly underpaid, overworked and underpaid, treated like shit by the foreman. And John Hall, David Andrews, is a drifter. He comes to this town, introduces himself to Warwick, the foreman. Foreman hires him, and he starts working the graveyard shift in this textile mill. And it's infested with rats, but there's also a secret. I don't want to give too much away, but I thought initially it was a killer rat film, and it's I don't want to say. Watch it for yourself. I'd call it a creature feature for sure. Monster type film, but and basically going back to what I loved about it is the characters. You've got David Andrews, John Hall, Kelly Wolf, Jane, Stephen Mock, Warwick, Andrew Devoff, aka Wishmaster as Danson, Brad Dourif as the Exterminator, Tucker, and Viz Polizos as Brogan. So basically that's your crew, and the film's all about life working in a textile mill, cleanup crew in a textile mill, and it's just a lot of fun, man. It's a lot of just desserts, a lot of asshole characters who they're kind of circling in on John. John's falling in love with Jane, who both work now at the textile mill, and kind of like, oh, what's that? It's like, I'm trying to think. This ratio or scenario has been played so many times where a guy moves to town. He's kind of the new guy, the outsider, and then you've got all your hard-working labor workers from this small redneck town kind of gather together and form a bond against or go against John, the new guy in town, kind of pick on him, call him gay, all kinds of weird things. But it's just great, man. Like the interactions between the characters. So that's like the one thing, and then the other thing is the kill sequences and the special effects, which are great for its time. Right off the bat, you get a guy. This is a funny scene, but too, involving all these rats that are staring at this guy, and he says, "We're not, class is dismissed," and then he tries to kill them, and he gets basically shocked to death, and then he falls back into this the textile mill grinder machine thing, and so that's basically your opening sequence, a badass death by getting destroyed and mauled and pushed into a machine, heavy piece of machinery. And then you've got an awesome I don't want to give too much away, but Deriff's death is amazing, involving getting crushed. Just awesome stuff, and a lot of just desserts. And then you've got the whole thing, the whole feud between the new guy John, Warwick the foreman, the asshole foreman, and the other crew, I guess, the other floormen, or whatever you want to call them. But yeah, just a lot of fun. Good effects, great setting. So going back to the things that I like, the story, the dialogue, cheesy but great, the acting, the character actors in this film. Basically all of your characters are character actors, so they play this great, like uptown New York or upstate New York, kind of rural rednecky feel so well. The feel of this film is what I love. I guess it takes place in Maine, so rural upstate Maine. Upstate Maine. Is there such thing? No. Rural Maine, and you know, it just plays on that scenario so well. So guys, I'm not going to go on much more. I'm at 7 minutes. Check this out. It's from 1990. It was actually like for a Stephen King film. You know, I had seen it. I had seen Pet Sematary. I had seen Pet Sematary 2. I had seen Thinner. I had seen all of them except for The Stand, I think. The Shining, obviously, all the adaptations. So surprisingly, this is one of the last Stephen King films, because up until recently I hadn't seen this, so don't regret this watch at all. I love it. And if you guys can, go on Diabolic or wherever, find this, because definitely worth the upgrade. I've compared the, as far as sound and picture quality goes, and it's definitely better on this release. Not so sure about sound, but picture, definitely better, superior to this. But yeah, guys, so Stephen King, Graveyard Shift. This is Team Money reporting for Body Bags Week, blah, blah, blah. I will put it in the description. Catch you on the flip side. Peace, guys.